Good afternoon, TV here. Just finished that knife that I was working on. Just put a new handle on it. It's a PVC. But this time I didn't split two sides. I just heated and melted and flattened it. And I just slipped it on over the handle. Now next step I will drill two holes in the metal through the plastic here and glue in a couple of dowel pins to hold it in place so it don't slip off. Then you got you a pretty good grip. As you can see, it's not too bad a grip. Now I need to sand it a little bit, and I can paint these any color you like. They are waterproof, but if I'd had some wood, I would make some wooden handles. On the next ones I may make wooden handles. But this is just my style. The handle, if you notice, is cut up at an angle this way, where most knives you might have seen were cut the other way. This is the reason this is. It's like a deer leg or a bone handle of a leg or hoof that would have run this way when you put it on the knife. And back in the early times when the Indians made their knives, they were made similar. Some of the handles were made similar to this, only they didn't have steel. They didn't generally have steel till the later 1800s. They generally had bone knives or flint knives, rock knives, those type of knives. They didn't have steel, not much of that. Now they did have copper knives. They had copper that they made a lot of stuff out of too back then. But they don't have any I guess they had a copper mine or they got traded for the copper somewhere, because I've seen copper knives. It's a softer metal though. It's not as good as real steel. Although it would do some damage if they can get it to, stick it in you or cut you with it anyway. Probably would bend if they went to stick you with copper. However, copper could kill you, It's possible. But it's not going to be hard like steel is. So when they came out with the steel knives, they had something. Like this one here. This one here is my patent. The angle of that handle, that is my setup, and I've had this patent since I was probably about 16 years old, somewhere back there. But anyway, what I'm going to do with this is, like I said, finish it up. I got to do a little more sharpening on it on this edge. I cut an edge on it the first time. All I'm going to do is just sharpen it up now. You really sharpen them once, but what this is just touching, what they call touching up a knife. And that's what I use for my edges. After you cut your edge on it the first time, that's where the edge is. And what I like about hardened steel on carbon knives, this edge here, it won't roll. You can't roll it hardly, but it'll cut the thunder out of it. It's pretty sharp right now. It can be a little sharper with a little more work on that, honing that edge, and that's what I'm gonna do. They say not to push the file towards the knife. Well, that's a general rule. It's safety, but in my case, I like to sharpen towards the knife, because it sharpens that edge better. I can put a finer edge on it. Because if you're going this way, guess what? You're pushing downhill like this. You're not putting an edge on it. You're pushing it off. In my opinion. I mean, each their own. It'll sharpen it that way too, but I like to go this way, towards the blade. And the same coming back. See how I do that? Pulling again that edge. Just lay your knife at an angle, because it's a little bit at an angle, see, on the edge, because your knife is full quarter, but your edge is that worked down to a fine cut, to almost zero radius. It's what people don't realize when you got a good edge. Some people, they want a flat knife, and if you sharpen the whole knife down, then you got no strength up here. You want your knife edge to be sharp, yes, but this is an edge. Right along here is your edge. Let me show you. This is the edge right here. Where that shiny part is, that's your very edge, is the edge of that edge. And that's what does the cutting on whatever you're after or whatever you're cutting. Both of these knives here come out of the same blade, out of the same lawnmower blade. I was just finishing it up today, the second one. This is the other half of the first blade I made. That's what it is in my 20th century survival hunting knife. Is all around usable knife, protection knife. This knife here, it can be used to cut clean to the bone, boy. I'm telling you, it's like an axe, more so than it is a knife. You see that wide? That's 2.5 inch blade by 6 inches. Now, whenever you come down in combat, and you come down this way and slash close in, you could rip a man's rib cage plumb down to his belly and his guts just fall out with these kind of knives. Now that's combat talking. I don't aim for folks to go out there hurting folks. That ain't what I was meaning, but in a war, that's what they used these thick blades for, was being able to what you're looking for is his backbone when you're in self-defense mode. But people do not go out and hurt your neighbor just because you're mad at them or whatever. That's not what I'm suggesting. This is the kind of thing is used for warfare, defending your life or against others who might kill your loved ones or your family. You never know what people will think about you. But I make these knives for working with, not hurting people. And this here knife can be used to chop up a calf leg off. It's sharp enough you could take a hammer and whop it right here, or a mallet. I suggest using a mallet over a hammer, that way you won't bend the back of it. I beat mine down on the back. It'll warp it some, but not real bad. And you can heat them again, but then you got to take the handle off to heat them and treat them. So you see what I did, I took that rolled edge at the top. It had kind of a roll spot here, still has a little bit of one, but not bad. And that's so that it will lay straight and flat. I don't know how it balances. Let's see if I can get it right about the middle here, and we'll on my index finger and see if it'll balance very good. It may or may not. Not too bad, not real good. There it is. About middle of that blade. I'll try to step back. It's still riding even when I move. When I move across here, it's still sitting kind of level. Now it ain't going to be well balanced because you got a plastic handle here. It's a little lighter than the other end. Your metal's always going to be a heavy end to come down, just like I told you. When you throw a knife, why the big end comes down first, the heaviest end, is because the weight of gravity pulls that heavier end down faster than it does something light. You drop a anvil and drop a feather and see which hits the ground first. Common sense, the heavier you are, the quicker you drop. So that's what we got here. With this type of knife, it's made for chopping wood, made for chopping up big game, skinning big game such as buffalo or elephant or whatever kind of game, you know, that you're hunting, cattle, beef, hogs. This knife would definitely skin about anything. It's razor sharp. It'll cut through bone is the main thing. If you got to choose a one type knife to carry, I prefer this kind because I can skin with this knife. It's got a round edge here. If I have to, I can choke up on it on small game. It's a little awkward to use that way, but I have done it. You can put your index finger here, split him down the back leg down to the rectum on both sides, and then cut the rectum out and his entrance there, and then you cut that hide loose and pull the hide down to his chest, and you know, just skinning. It can be used for small game, but it's really better. This kind of knife's really better used on big game, but if you have to, you can use it on small game. This knife is also made, like I said, for cutting through large bones. I mean, you could really hack with this sucker. Split wood with it. Whittle, I don't think, well, you can, but it probably wouldn't be as good as a smaller knife for whittling. You might use it as a draw blade knife in a pinch where you shave wood down. Maybe you're making something with it. You could. Just a general all-around working tool.